Joining me here today, we have Cole, Gray, and Dawson of the Hourhand. I got to tell you, first off, just thank you so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. We were really looking forward to this interview.
Now, for the record, this is our second interview together. Unfortunately, the first one was not recorded. So before we begin, just going to double check that it is, right? That might help for making this one work. But you know what? The situation wasn't a complete loss, because what came of it is we started playing Hobo in the Bowl and Speakeasy on Rock 106, and there's been a lot of fanfare for it. People have definitely enjoyed your sound and having it on the station. So it's been a pleasure in that regard.
Well, if they enjoyed
awesome
Speakeasy and Hobo, then they're gonna love our new single Hellbent that's coming out.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And, you know, I got to tell you, I've been anxiously awaiting this interview, because the last time we spoke, it kind of seemed like you guys were on the cusp of an impetus, we'll call it. You were kind of switching things around. Cole, you had talked about wanting to like get some Les Paul Juniors to get like that, that sound that you were talking about getting one.
Do you remember what gear I had at the time? Did I talk about it at all? Because like, man, we've re-upped on gear since then. Holy shit.
I think just a little bit. I just recall you were playing Les Pauls and maybe like a Strat, like a Super Strat kind of guitar. But then the other big thing, kind of the secret to the sauce, in my opinion, at that time was Gray's bass sound, and how you guys had just newly acquired the Bass 6. And I think that'd be an interesting way to start things off, just because probably most people aren't even aware that it's a thing and kind of what's going on with that. So let's start there.
Yeah, I think this is the first song where that's sort of making an appearance. And it's just kind of basically like, it takes on the role of the bass and a rhythm guitar. And I kind of play it like a rhythm guitar, but it still kind of retains that low end. And that's kind of what that instrument allows.
Well, and I think it's with the first recorded stuff, you were able to have like this huge sound and just be like this big sounding power trio, which is like, anybody can probably do that recorded, but the gist that I got is like you guys are really consistent live compared to recorded, and I have a real appreciation for that. So you mentioned there has been a lot of changes. Do you notice like a huge difference when you start acquiring new gear, or is it all in the fingers, or what's going on there?
Well, I mean, I feel like each one of us can answer that individually. For me, absolutely, I love the inspiration that it gives me. Like, knowing that, like, when you have the same style of gear that your heroes played, it really kind of influences the way you play. Like, you don't play Stevie Ray Vaughan licks on a Les Paul, and you don't play Slash style licks on a Strat. You know what I mean? And
right.
To a certain point, like, yeah, you can do whatever you want with whatever gear, but certain paint brushes allow for different styles of paintings, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of like a set it and forget it kind of with the gear. I like to like not worry about too much complicated stuff. So I don't know, I kind of just have all my pedals on all the time. And if I don't need it, I try not to use it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense too, since you're also having to sing. I could assume you don't want to busy things up too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I find yeah, like I'm definitely the opposite of Gray in that respect. Like, it's fucking like I'll constantly be changing out my pedals, but like when we're playing live, I'll use one at a time, and when I do use it, it's usually only for like 13 seconds.
And then Dawson, I saw in one of your guys' photos that you were rocking an acrylic drum set, which brought me back to like some of my favorite drummers from like the 60s and the 70s. And is that something new for you as well, or have you been having that for a while?
Well, I actually got that right near the start of the pandemic. It's just that we weren't playing a ton of shows, so I haven't really had a big chance to take it out. But I believe we did a gig in Regina, and I was finally able to bring it out to a show. It's a 1976 Ludwig Vista-like kit with a 24-inch bass drum, 14, 16, and 18-inch toms. So like it's nearly the sizes of John Bonham, except for the bass drum, and it sounds amazing once you get that thing mic'd up and in a full room a room full of people. you can see why so many people are drawn to acrylic drums once you play them live. Just have a super full sound and just sound awesome under a mic. So kind of coming back to what Cole was mentioning, I find a big difference. Like I have a wooden, like a birch kit, and then I also have that acrylic kit. And I find when I play one versus the other, it's not that one makes me play better or worse. It's more so just that one has different inspirations. So I find I play differently depending on what kit I'm using. And like you switch out cymbals depending on the type of song, or you switch out your snare depending on what you're kind of going for. So I think when it comes to gear, a gear doesn't make the player, but it can inspire the player to create different pieces of art.
So do you guys find then, with you being a three-piece, that the small changes that you are making with gear can actually make more of a difference in the mix?
100%. We're all kind of just like, I always think of it like we're trying to take up as much space as we can individually without getting each other's way. But that, and almost like when there's only three of us, that kind of everyone can be heard still, but it takes up as much space as we can. And that's how I think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to, like, we don't really have a problem having a muddy mix, because you try to at least get it so that everyone kind of fits in their own space within the EQ.
Now, okay, Hellbent on Leaving You. Love the lyric. And it kind of, like, I love songs that kind of make me think about life in general. I don't know if that's what you're going for, but I like it because you need to have a certain amount of stubbornness to make love work, but you also have to be stubborn to know when to walk away. And yeah, Hellbent on Leaving You. I also like your commitment to punctuality with this song.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like, I feel like as we kind of like grew our songwriting style, we kind of, and like that was a lot of John's influence too. The way he writes songs, it's very short, like, you know, compact, like the Beatles, you know what I mean?
Right.
Efficient. And that's kind of how that's like, I don't know, we've been narrowing into that a little more. So like we get like a lot of shorter songs.
I just mentioned John there. You guys had to do a little bit of traveling to put the song to tape, as they say. Let's just let everybody know what all about that, going out east, and then how it all came together.
Yeah, so it all kind of comes back to, we did a show for one of the radio stations in town in Regina, and we got in touch with John Harvey from Monster Truck through Evan Barron from the Wolf, and he kind of got us in touch. We knew that we had the songs kind of lined, like we had a whole bunch of different songs just demoed ourselves, and we were like, which ones do we want to record next? So we started talking to John, knowing that, okay, we want to have 2 recordings out of these. Talked to him about it, got his opinion on it, got Michael Kier's opinion from Threshold Recording Studio. He was the engineer that we worked with as well. And then we were like, from the moment we started talking to both of them, it was just great vibes. And we were like, okay, we know that if we're going to go out to Hamilton, that we're going to have a great experience. We're going to get a great product, and we're going to get an experience of a lifetime doing this too. So we have some amazing fans. We put a GoFundMe out. We did a whole bunch of shows to fundraise for it, and we were lucky enough to get budget enough to go out. Made it out there a lot in February of 2022 for about 5 days, and recorded 2 songs over that period of time. Just woodshed them right off the bat, and they ended up turning out great. We have another one that also just turned out great too. But it was just a great experience, especially working with those 2 guys. We've worked with some others, but I especially noticed John's input for just little things that you wouldn't really think of. Like even when I was playing, it's actually in the chorus of Hellbent, I did a lot of ghost notes on my snare drum, being the drummer, and it was feeling good. But John was like, why don't you take all the ghost notes out and just play like solid 2 and 4 on the snare drum? Just really hammer those notes home, like make it as wailing of a chorus as you can. So I took out notes, and it just opened the chorus up. It just seemed like that my drum part just filled up more space, even having less though. Yeah. And it's little things like that having some people that have went through the recording process and have that experience, that it's like, oh yeah, like they're making a difference. They're bringing out the best part of ourselves into this recording.
So with that not being your first rodeo, like having previously recorded, did you go in there feeling pretty confident, like you had a good idea of what you're going to be able to do, or was it a brand new learning experience?
It was it was a little bit of both, like for sure, like because that was our first time ever properly experiencing like a real dedicated studio and not something that's like someone's hobby. That's like with Mike, that's his craft. That's his baby, that room. And the amount of effort that he puts into making art is that was the first time we've ever experienced anything like that. We did know going into it what we wanted in regards to how we wanted it and how we wanted to achieve our sound. And I would say that was a result of a lot of woodshedding because we always demo our own stuff. And how we demo our stuff is we set up the mics and we hit record. There's no click track. There's like, we just hit R and, just play it and just redo it until we get it right. And from that, we've really managed to blur the line between what you hear in the studio and what you hear live, because essentially what you're hearing on these tracks is a live recording. And when we pitched that to John and Mike, initially they were pretty skeptic about it because a lot of bands, when they do go into the studio, they can't really, they might waver around on the BPMs, rush it, drag it, whatever. But Dawson, you got a first take on the drum tracks and you moved a single BPM by the end of it or something along the lines of that. And we pulled it off exactly how we wanted to do it, and that was as live as possible. And I feel like it really translates.
Yeah, I think we also we were so prepared that when we did show up, we didn't have to worry about we knew exactly what parts we wanted to play. We just had to actually conjure up the best performance. And that's what I feel like. That's why we were with those two guys there. They were trying to get those, the best performances that each of us could give. And I think they definitely did that.
Now, one ingredient to the mix that you guys added with Hellbent is a little bit of organ. Are you guys going to try to pull that off live, or what is your plan for that then?
I wish.
Well, we've always kind of talked about if we needed another guy, it would always be a keyboard player. But it just sounds so good. It sounds so good on the recording. So we're just we'll put it in. We'll keep it a little subtle so it's not integral to the song, but just that little bit of spice.
Yeah, we definitely would love to have an organ player, but we had to make sure that when we were writing the part, when we were putting it into the finished product, that it wasn't such a key element that if we didn't have it live, people would be like, "Oh, something's missing,"
Yeah.
It's got to complement it while also flying under the radar, which I feel we did beautifully. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, there's even other percussion stuff that we added in. I think we did some shake, kabasa in the verses, and then I think we actually have a cowbell. I think they called it Big Birdie. It's just some huge ass cowbell that we had there, biggest cowbell I've seen. But we have just took a four count on a cowbell in the choruses, but it's low enough in the mix that if it wasn't there, you'd never notice. But it adds enough spice to it that it just makes the studio recording just a little, I don't know. It's
just that little atmosphere, to
yes.
That's awesome. Well, from the sounds of things, you have one more single then to release. What are the plans for the Hourhand over the next little while then?
We're starting to plan into the winter. We're gonna start, playing other provinces, getting out of Saskatchewan, and just sort of, expanding our reach. We have another song in the bag. We're just hanging on to it for now, and I don't know. We'll take it as it comes, but
Well, that's awesome. I'm really excited that we were able to do this and that it did record this time. And it's going to be a pleasure to play your new single, Hellbent, on Rock 106. I just already know anybody that's into rock and roll or just has a teensy bit of soul is going to absolutely love it.
It's funky. Dance to it. Speed in your car.
Right. There you go.
That's what it's made for.
Well, I just want to thank you once again for the three of you joining me here.
Yep.
Thank you so much for having us, man.